And we are live. Welcome to another Monday night, my dear.
I know. Is this month flying or what? Let's get
Yes.
Instagram going here. Hello, Instagram. Welcome.
Come on, Instagram. They're slow. Hold up.
They
Hold up.
are.
Come
Well,
on.
I want to say hello to our 101,000 streaming platforms that we're streaming to, that I can never remember all of them, but we do appreciate you. Whether you're, watching us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Pinterest, of course, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There's another one. I always forget the other one. Um,
Amazon Music.
Amazon Music. There we go. I don't know why I don't, because you know what? I don't think I listen to more Spotify than I do, and so I think it's just a Freudian thing. But anyway, welcome everyone. Welcome to. We are today. It's the 15th of December. Can you believe that?
No, and you know what that means for a self-employed tax person? That means my
Oh yeah.
end of the year paperwork is coming due. Yay me.
That's right. That's right. I remember last year,
Mm,
uh, it would be like, okay, I'm not talking to you anymore. Go do your stuff.
no,
Yeah.
no.
Too funny. Well, we have an interesting subject tonight. Um, and we titled this Digital Detox and Forest Bathing. End of the year stress melts for busy souls. And you're probably wondering, okay, I don't even know what she just said. So we're going to dive into it a little bit because here's the thing. Um, and I know this for a fact. So, just to bring everyone who hadn't listened previous, I am Coach Sherri. I go by Step by Healing Step on social media. That's how you can find me. And this is my co host. We're both co hosts.
Right?
We're not just hosts, we're co hosts. But introduce yourself.
I am Becky Niles, and that is typically my handle on most social media platforms. So you can end up and find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, but you can either find me behind the I am Becky Niles handle or Beyond Nutrition Community. So we both end up and run a lot of the Beyond Nutrition social media, such as this YouTube, Rumble, etc. But any of the other threads, TikTok, X, any of those, it's either I am Becky Niles or Becky Niles. So that is my handle over there. And yeah, it's definitely a needed topic. We've done this, if we break these two subjects apart, we've done the digital detox as part of our community challenges, several times. And it seems like it is one of the harder parts for a lot of people
Hmm.
to end up and
Hmm.
do as part of a challenge. So, it's always good to end up and do that. But end of the year when, the hormones and the nervous system and everything else are so heightened anyway, right? It's not just always mentally, but people get, emotionally and physically exhausted. So
Hmm.
there's a lot that goes into, but digital, right? Uh, love y'all platforms, but it does end up and play a role in there too.
Hmm. It absolutely does. And I mean the end of the year stress. I mean, we're like I said, today is the 15th of December. Christmas is days away now. New Year's is days away. So I just literally helped my mom like before we logged on. I was helping her order some stuff. So I mean, we had that holiday rush that we were doing. I was helping my mom order some stuff. You got your inbox overload, right? Constant notifications. You've got, oh my gosh, like
Well,
this party, right?
exactly, and that's just what I was going to say. You have all the lights and the parties and the
Mhm.
disrupted sleep, right? All of this is playing a role, let alone the fact that we're moving into winter and our, days are shorter. So we
Mhm.
have more of that dark, and a lot of people are being blasted with, the blue light from
Yes.
digital electronics. So, they also have deadlines, not just the holiday obligations, but there's a lot of deadlines that are being met. I was just talking with my daughter, and this is finals week because they're out of school next week for Christmas break. So, it's all she's she's gonna end up and hate me for saying this, but it's finals week, and it's also, her cycle week, and she's like, oh my God, everything hit all at once. And and she's trying to work and juggle a lot of things.
Well, she picked
But
up some extra hours at work on top of,
she did.
like, she's been done with school for, a couple weeks, and now she's going to be working like a lot.
Yeah.
So she's got, what did you say? She was going to be very,
She's huh?
yeah, what did you say she was going to be?
She's gonna end up she's going to start doing gen eds, and she wants to end up and be a nurse. So right now she's a nurse aide in a skilled care facility, so a nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, her body is definitely running in, that fight and flight right now, just like many of us.
Right.
And when we keep these stress hormones chronically elevated, we never get into that rest.
Right.
And so people run on that for weeks at a time. A lot of people, it tends to hit even Thanksgiving. So, it's not just crunch time right now, but they've been living in this state for the last, couple weeks.
Right. Right. Well, it's the kind of the busy soul, like, archetype, right? Like, we're always giving, and we're rarely pausing. And, the digital detox, do you want to start on that? Let's start there, and then we'll kind of melt into the other areas. But so what is a digital detox, right? It's an intentional break from devices to reclaim your attention. When and some of you know that I lost my social media, I lost Instagram and Facebook due to an AI glitch who said I went against company or community standards. And I was, what was it, 3.5 weeks, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. And for the first few days, I can tell you, because I actually deleted this stuff off my phone, the apps and everything. My finger automatically went to where the Instagram app was and the Facebook app was constantly for the first couple days. Like, it was like, oh, it's gone. Like, oh, and I realized that even I needed a digital detox, right?
Yeah, and that's just it. It's that addiction side of things, right? We end up and we mindlessly fill voids, or we end up and procrastinate, right, of not getting things done because we're doom scrolling. And that's where, there's several different things in regards of digital that end up and also hijack our hormones.
Right.
And that's where, when we have this digital overload, right? Every alert, every email, every scroll, every notification, all of those are like micro stressors that are just constantly bombarding the system. And what happens when, we're getting these short bursts, right? Stress in minimal doses can be beneficial, right? Just like exercise or, resistance training, right? That's a stressor, but you're not doing it several hours out of the day. And if you are, we need to have another conversation. That's another podcast topic. But, cortisol, it's designed for those short bursts, not all day stimulation. And that's where chronic elevation of this leads to people getting fatigue. It leads to belly fat storage. A lot of people, right now are getting insulin resistance. And that can also be because of digital. Anxiety, right? People are so, because, an email alert or a notification comes in, or, a text message, or one of the other apps on your phone, and it creates like this anxiety, one, to try and, juggle everything, right? Because let's face it, we have, enough going on in our lives anyway. But then also it can be disruptive of sleep. It can create, sugar cravings, which, it's so funny. You and I were talking was it this week, last week? Anyway, one of the companies that, I order stuff through and, work with, they were responding to me. Now, it's one of the
Oh,
companies that I use for,
yes.
access for clients outside of the United States. So they are, based in another time zone, but they were responding to me in the evening. They're only 6 hours, time difference from me. And so I was actually talking to them, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're responding to me at 7 o'clock. It is 2 in the morning. You are supposed to be sleeping. And they're like, well, a car woke me up. And I'm like, okay, but get off your phone.
Right.
Right? This
Yeah.
digital life at night ends up, and it's gonna end up and stimulate cortisol. And that blue, and they're like, well, I need to stay on top of things. And I'm like, no, that's stress. The melatonin, your blue light is suppressing that. And we know that melatonin or
Yeah. Yeah.
blue light suppresses melatonin by 50 to 80%.
Mm.
So, that's one, like I said, one of the challenges that we've done with inside the BNC community is that hour, at least an hour. I mean, it's
Yeah.
an hour,
Yeah.
60 minutes of your day that, we were encouraging people to put down their phone.
Yeah.
But so many people are set on nighttime scrolling, but that's signaling your brain that it's midday. So
Hmm.
it's delaying sleep. You're getting shallow sleep. You're not getting quality sleep that allows for the leptin, to end up and be docking. So also when you suppress melatonin, the other thing that people don't look at as far as melatonin, it does end up and help with repair. It
Yeah.
repairs your gut, it repairs your immune system. So people will end up with, a weaker immune system too.
Hmm.
Um,
Especially this time of year, right?
exactly. And so, when the days are already shorter and we should be getting, a little bit more sleep this time of year, hence why I'm sitting in red light, right? That
Hmm.
way I'm not blasting myself with blue light. I'm still able to go to sleep when my daughter gets home tonight from work, and I get that quality sleep. It doesn't disrupt it. It's not necessarily about the quantity of sleep,
Hmm.
right? You can go to bed at midnight and get up at 7, 8 o'clock and get your 7, 8 hours of sleep.
Hmm.
But if you go to bed at, 9, 10 o'clock and you get up at, 5, 6 o'clock, that sleep is going to end up and be a lot different that you are getting before midnight.
Yeah.
And that's going to play a role in your insulin and your blood sugar too.
Absolutely.
So, poor sleep increases the insulin resistant and, it creates energy crashes. So people are like, I don't understand why I'm tired at, 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I have to have coffee and I have to have sugar. And,
Hmm.
they start this mindless eating because they're not really hungry, but, oh, hey, it's the holidays, right? There's a cookie tray or there's
Hmm.
candy or,
Hmm.
whatever, but then they wonder why they're packing 10, 15 pounds on over the holidays.
Right.
And it's because you're creating this blood sugar roller coaster.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
not being, outside, you're not getting proper, dopamine signal, serotonin signal by sunlight, right? You're getting this false scrolling dopamine hit,
Hmm.
and it just ends up in it over time of that, it starts to downregulate receptors too. So, you start to feel drained, you start to feel kind of this lack of lust, right? Or
Hmm.
unmotivated. And, this is why people end up and feel exhausted all the time. They're wired but tired at night. It's
Hmm.
because you're missignaling your hormones.
Yeah, you've got the TV on, you've got lights on,
Hmm.
right? You're playing on your phone or the computer or the laptop or your iPad or whatever other device that you have in your hand, right? But if you've got your house lit up like a Christmas tree at night, like with bright light, you are telling your body it's daytime. It is.
Exactly. And I get the fact that, people can't change all the lights, right? I have a
Right.
lamp. It's a $50 lamp that's, sitting here in my office. But the other thing is, Midwest has great, blue blockers. You're wearing yours, but then they end up and they have, either orange or red blue blockers. And those are very affordable. They're, 30, $40.
Yeah.
And we have a discount code. It's, Niles 10, and that saves you 10%. But even just that, by putting, the blue blockers on, that is enough also to end up and help block some of that blue light. Because I understand that there are people, that do shift work. Like, for instance, my daughter, right? She's at work. Those people in the nursing home, they end up and they need those folks. People in the hospital, they end up and need those folks. So, even regulating your system on that front, I mean, I could go to her room right now and she's got red lights on. So, she has blue blockers. She'll end up and wear them. She has the clear, the yellow ones to end up and drive home with, because you don't ever drive in, the amber or the red ones. That's way too dangerous. But once she gets home, it's red light, it's salt lamps downstairs, we definitely respect that. And it's just how you end up and look at electronics as far as light goes, as far as hormones go. Just be willing to, and I had a client once that I told him, I said, you don't allow your children to end up and be on electronics in the evening, late in the evening. Set parental controls on your own phone. If you don't have, the willpower, right, and like what you were saying, that addiction to those apps, if you don't have the willpower to break that addiction right now, set the parental controls. Set how long you can end up and be on it. Once your time's up, your time's up. If you use that time, earlier in the day, your time's up. Right? It forces you to do other things. And there are other things that you can do to help with stress. So we're not just, on here tonight to end up and tell you that, digital electronics are bad, but it's a case of what can you end up and do to help?
Right.
We're on here to also help you and give you solutions.
Don't do what we do. No.
Right.
I'll tell you, I mean, in all honesty, after, the first few days of not having social media, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't in a hurry to even get it back, because I recognized that I needed the detox. But here's some interesting data. Do you know that the average adult checks their phones 96 times a day? And that includes the work hours.
Okay.
Is that not crazy?
It is crazy.
I know. And but yeah, even if you start there, if you start keeping track, no joke, of the amount of times you check your phone, put a little tick on a little piece of paper and add those up and just see how much you're actually picking that phone up and checking, like that person in the other country that you were conversing with in the middle of the night for them, And I said, but what did I say? I said, that person literally woke up, a car or something made a noise and woke them up. But what did they do? They immediately grabbed their phone.
Yep. Well, and that's also, the subconscious stress of work too, right? They knew that they ended up and had messages, and but that's again setting those boundaries, right? I get emails and messages, whether it's from my coaching clients or some of the other platforms that I work for. And it's a case of, that's one of the things that my colleagues and I end up and we have conversations about all the time is setting those boundaries. You are not necessarily on call 24 hours a day. And you have to become that no person. You have to end up and be willing to, you call it put them in timeout, right?
I do. Yeah.
Putting someone in timeout and responding to them later. And that's just it. We are such a culture of instant gratification, right? We end up and we want a message now. Right. And I get timely messages, right? Okay, if it's, middle of the night, I think you text me, I don't even know, 6 o'clock this morning. Honestly, I don't even know if I
Mm-mm. It was earlier than that
I
because
was
I
gonna
was
say,
up.
I don't
I
even
was
know
up.
if I, responded to it, but it wasn't necessarily something that I needed to respond to. It
No,
was
but
just
what was
something
the
to look
first
at.
thing you said to me when we spoke today was, "What were you doing up at that time?"
Yeah, why were you
Yeah.
up so early?
Yeah, why were you up so
Plus
early?
on your phone.
Right.
Um, and that's
Yeah.
the other thing is if someone is just trying to slowly start this, right? If you're someone that is listening
Mhm.
on, you know, YouTube or over there on Rumble, or maybe you're on Instagram listening to us right now, make sure, give us a like right now if you're really liking the conversation and where we're going with this. But just start small, start with short detoxes. So, commit to yourself that you're not going to look at your phone the first 30 minutes of waking up, right? You're going to end
Mhm.
up and get up, have a slow morning. You're not going to lay in bed and roll over and look at your phone first thing. So, no phone the first 30 minutes.
Well,
Uh,
didn't you for a long time, you didn't keep your phone in your
correct.
room, right? You had
Correct.
it like in the bathroom or something.
Hmm.
Like it wasn't even. Now you had to move it because of teenagers and driving and all that.
Yeah.
And I understand. I mean, that's a very valid thing. Um, and you've even said that they woke you up texting in the middle of the night.
Yeah. Yeah. I had to end up and put my phone within hearing distance
Yeah.
in case, whether it was my children or because they were, right? I have one child that works overnights and I have four children total. So, I mean, I don't go to bed until the one gets home from work, the one that still lives at home. But, also my mother,
Mhm.
she's 80 years old. And, so I end up and have it there. But we also have Ring cameras outside.
Mhm.
So for our safety factor, you know, um, if the cameras would happen to go off, we have had random vehicles that
Mhm.
have come through the driveway at odd hours of the night. So, and anyone that knows where we live, it's a case of, there's no reason to drive through our driveway.
Right.
Um,
You're out
so,
in the middle of nowhere too, like I am.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, for that side of it, I don't necessarily sleep with it right next to my bed, but
Mhm.
yeah, it is within hearing distance. But there again, no phone in the first 30 minutes, and no phone within, that hour of going to bed.
Right.
So, make even just that, right? Maybe it's not something that you're able to be off of it through the day
Mhm.
or most of the evening because you have, whatever, maybe work or whatever. But, or even just mealtime. So many people are sitting and eating meals and watching television, they're
Right.
scrolling their phone. We went out for lunch yesterday and the people that, are out eating and are on their cell phones.
Mhm.
So, make that commitment because that makes a difference in how your body digests your meal too. So there are different, like, four different ways. I'll give you the four different ways
Yes.
to slowly start to detox, right?
Okay.
No phone 30 minutes in the morning. One, no phone an hour before going to bed. No phone during meals. And then, making sure that one daily outdoor break without
Mhm.
your phone
Mhm.
throughout the day. Pick one of those four and end up and, one of those four, complete one each week for the next, 3 weeks of the year.
Mhm.
And by the new year, you will have a new goal or a new habit. You
Yeah.
will be able to end up and create a adequate detox off of that digital device. It doesn't have to be overnight.
Right. Well, speaking of, and you kind of mentioned it, going outside. So let's kind of transition over here to the part of the title was forest bathing, and it was more kind of a funny, right? But I'm being serious too when I came up with that. So forest bathing can melt your stress, but I live in the city. I have a forest. Okay, we're not talking about a literal forest, but it is forest bathing is a Japanese practice that is immersing yourself in nature, right? Going for a walk, getting outside. Last Thursday night, I got off work. I came home. I looked at my husband before I even walked in and said, let's go for a walk. And I changed my clothes and washed the makeup off my face, and away we went. And we ended up going, back into our woods, and we have a woods, so that we could go into. But we were meandering through the woods, and we watched the sunset, and it was so invigorating and relaxing. And it's like, we've got to do this more often. And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Not a literal forest, right? Not a literal woods, but going outside.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely a sensory aspect, right? When
Mhm.
our nervous system, and that's just it, when I talked about the difference in the hormones that the electronics end up and create, you've got
Mhm.
to be able to work on the parasympathetic. I can't tell
Mhm.
you how many times,
Mhm.
right? Nervous system plays a role.
Yep.
And if you are able to go outside, studies show that the cortisol reduction just from 20 to 30 minutes of being in that environment, you don't have to end up in, yes, I'm the crazy one in Nebraska that will, go outside barefoot in the middle of wintertime. You don't have to end up and necessarily do that. There are other ways to do the grounding, but just simply being outside, being connected in that sensory environment, changing that environment, the studies show that the cortisol reduction is there. So go
Right.
ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if anybody's seen my reels on Instagram and Facebook, you've seen a holly tree, and that is literally outside the building where I work. And I kind of laughingly told Becky, I'm like, they probably wouldn't like me taking my shoes off and walking barefoot on the lawn right now. So people, out in public probably would frown on that. So instead, I literally was standing there holding the leaf from the holly tree. Like, that's what I did for, like, I don't know, how long was I standing there? Like 20 minutes or
I'm gonna
something
say probably
ridiculous.
at least.
Yeah, it was like, and do you know what? That was grounding.
Yep. Yep. Our hands are grounding. You can end up and sit on a rock, and put your hands on
Mhm.
the rock. Yes, they make grounding shoes and all of that. So if you do
Mhm.
actually go to the forest or go to the woods or whatever, they do end up and make so you don't have to be barefoot. But it definitely increases that activation of the parasympathetic. And
Mhm.
when we do that, our heart rate slows.
Mhm.
So, and we start to end up and actually breathe deeper. Our
Yeah.
breath automatically deepens. And the vagus nerve, we talk about a lot with clients on how to activate that vagus nerve prior to eating. Because
Mhm.
when our cortisol is elevated, yes, digestion and that will raise cortisol. But a lot of times when you go into, eating, right, in that state, it shuts down the digestive aspect, the enzymatic aspect. And so if you activate the vagus nerve before you eat, there is benefit, but there's also benefit for thyroid. There's benefit, as someone that had thyroid issues and Hashimoto's, parasympathetic work was a game changer
Right.
when it come to healing my thyroid and the autoimmune side of things. That body just automatically shifts into that repair mode. There you can't end up and expect things to change if you're not willing to end up and I can't stress the amount of times where I've worked with clients and I've actually told them you need to take a step back. You need to step back from exercise. You need to step back from
Mhm.
fasting. You need to step back from, keto, carnivore, etc. And you need to end up and work on healing first because if
Mhm.
that healing can't happen,
Right.
then you're not going to end up and see the progress that you're looking for. And a lot of times that just comes down to the nervous system.
Mhm.
But the other side of being outside is with the serotonin and the dopamine balance. So natural light plus the greenery restores these neurotransmitters, and that improves the mood without artificial, right? So that's why when we're doing the digital detox and I said going outside, it's because it creates this balance automatically. So you're not seeking things for that. You're
Mhm.
just naturally getting it.
Mhm.
And, it will also help you to end up and wind down when we're off of the phone at night. And so daylight exposure, right? Morning light, people don't end up and make this connection. But a lot of times, if you are outside for daybreak or sunrise, that exposure helps to build the melatonin for nighttime. So when you're able to get that through your eyes, right, you're actually looking, you're not blocking it with sunglasses, you're not, behind glass, you're not, simply
Mhm.
sitting there with an electronic device blasting in your face. Yes, it will offset it some for people that work outside on their computer and that. But if you can actually go outside and get sunrise, take a light break during the day for UVA, that's all going to end up and help the accesses of the body to balance these hormones naturally. You will see better hormones, you will see better sleep, you'll see that better resilience. And I made that comment on, my Instagram the other day, because even though, I work on all the things, I'm not invincible, right? I'm not bulletproof.
Yes.
I do get sick, knock on wood. I think my parents ended up and thought that I was like on my deathbed, because I had a couple of them. They're like, we've been coming to you for 6 years and you have never taken a sick day. And I'm
Mhm.
like, yeah, I know. And I said, I probably really honestly didn't need it, um, but I did.
Right.
Looking back, I did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a case, and they're like, but and I noticed it because I do still have my aura ring. I obviously my aura ring picked up, right? I had super poor sleep scores, and I shared those because, again, to me, I am that open book. I want people to know that, hey, my Instagram, my TikTok, it's not a highlight reel. It's a case of, there are days where children don't listen. Shit's going to hit the fan and it's not going to be an optimal day, right?
Right.
I'm not going to get the double crowns on the aura ring, but I am building that resiliency and I'm building that lifestyle.
Right.
And I was able to bounce back and I had better scores the next night.
I love
So,
that. Yeah, and you did. You did. I
mhm,
mean, and I talked to you a couple times throughout the day that you were
my sick
you,
day.
your sick day, right? And I'm sure you caught on because I would be like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
Right? Like
I'm
because
fine.
yeah, no, but I was after the fact that I wanted her to relax and slow
Yeah.
down. She's like, "Oh, I'm sitting here folding laundry, and oh, I'm like, okay, let's let's relax. Let's take it down a notch here."
Yeah. I think you're like, "Well, can't you go and, do something for yourself?" And I'm
Yes,
like, "And do what? I have to drive." I mean, it's 10 miles into town. It's
I
30
know.
mile, 40 miles, to the bigger town. I'm like, "And do what?"
I know. I know. I was trying to
But
get you
yeah.
to, take care of yourself, right? And
Yeah.
and that's the thing. So if you guys can do a digital detox while you're outside, that's a double one, man. That's great stuff. And some of the Japanese studies that I was reading to get ready for tonight, do you know that this forest bathing or being outside, right, reduces your cortisol by 15%. It'll lower your blood pressure. And we can talk about lowering blood, even cortisol, my blood sugar, when
Yeah.
I would wear the CGMs and I would go to yoga. And then the one yoga, there's like a meditation at the end for so long. The biggest drop I seen was 27 points on my CGM. My blood sugar went down that much just by doing light stretching yoga and meditation. Like, if that doesn't tell you alone, like, oh my gosh, our bodies need this, I don't know what did. It was shocking.
Well, and even just the night that we ended up and had the BNC community meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and you were simply doing just the breath work
Yep.
and your red light at home.
Yep.
It does, if someone like myself, right? Because when I listen to you talk about yoga, it's like, okay, that's great, but I don't have
Right.
yoga around. What can I
Right.
do? Right. And that's where even just sitting in your home, right, and
Mm-hmm.
doing YouTube has a lot of great yoga or meditation channels. There's a couple that I end up and I like.
Mm-hmm.
Chibs I use a lot. He's ended up working for the Calm app, but he's got a YouTube channel and I use a lot of his. But just sitting in front of the red light and doing proper breath work, that can be box breathing, that can, be, there's several different types
Mm-hmm.
of breath work that you can do. But just that alone has that effect. And it can definitely make a difference when it comes to that blood sugar for sure. We've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it in yours.
Oh, we do. We do. It's crazy. It's in, and I will be the first person to say I'm not stressed. I don't know. I'm not stressed, right?
Mhm.
It's just yeah, serious. And it's funny. One of the things though while you're outside without your phone, okay, is pay attention. Pay attention to the leaves and the trees and the sky and the colors. Immerse yourself in the environment that you're in, because again that's going to activate that parasympathetic,
Mhm.
right, that we're talking about. It's going to just going to make you feel calmer. And so when you are setting at the family gatherings and all these little parties that you're going to before the end of the year and even New Year's Eve, um, there's nothing wrong with going outside without your phone and taking a break.
Yep.
But now let's kind of switch it here and let's talk about kind of some different. So you're out. Let's say you're outside and you're breathing. We've talked about breathing. Being outside, detoxing from your devices, wearing the blue blocking glasses or setting in red light. Um, you can also journal.
Hmm.
And you can sit outside and write down, um, you know, worries and releases and themes and outdoors. And that was one of the things that I had done a 6 week deep meditation um, uh, journaling. We would journal after we would meditate for a while, and it was like this random, like she would give us a prompt and somehow it would turn into this whole other subject, and I'm down another road and writing and writing and writing and it was like this release, right? And then I would think about later what I had written, which was so funny. Some of the but one of the things I absolutely loved is she would have us do guided visualizations. Um, so it was, and it was really funny because it was like she's like, okay, where are you at right now? Like go to your happy place. So we had our eyes closed and we're laying down, and she's like, go to your happy place. What do you see? Look around. And it was like, well, I was on the side of a mountain and I had seen this meadow and I could see like the mountain in the background. And then she's like, do you feel a light breeze? And I could see like the rippling of it was just funny how the guided visualization, I can't talk tonight,
Hmm.
was really, and it was just, and then it was like, now go over, you see over there, find that comfy spot with that big fluffy pillow and blanket and just curl up on it and look up at the sky. And it was just this whole, she guided us through this. And it was like, oh my goodness, like it was a real sensory experience
Hmm.
and it produced a calming effect. So, and you can do that anywhere. You can do that for free.
Yep. Talking about the visualization side of things, and that's one of the things that I will work with clients is, especially when their nervous system is so
Hmm.
resistant to come out of that fight and flight, is sitting outside, and because the brain is constantly wanting to scan for danger, right? It's constantly in just like on sensory overload. And so really do working on the sensory grounding and pulling that attention out of the stress loop and anchoring that brain to the present moment, right? Where
Mhm.
are you? Where are you sitting? What are you doing? Really bringing that back in tune. But the signals that the body ends up and needs, it's not just sometimes sitting there and staring at the horizon, right? Because people will get like this monkey brain where they're like, oh man, I need to do the dishes, I should have went to the grocery store, and it starts going. And
Mhm.
so I will tell them, whether you're sitting in a park bench because they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna, people are gonna look at me funny if I'm doing like yoga or something like that in the park, is to do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method.
Mhm.
Look at 5 things that you can see. Name 5 different things around you. It can be the slide at the park, it can be the trees, it can end up and be the birds. Just name 5 things, 5 different colors, shapes, objects, whatever. That works because it ends up and it is teaching the brain, right, what
Mhm.
it is intentionally observing. It doesn't have to end up and be, any special object, right? And it's training the brain that nothing is wrong right now. And then 4 things that you can see, like the holly bush, the tree,
Mhm.
right? We've walked around the court, around the center, right, several times, and there's different things. When we walked downtown, right, you walked across
Mhm.
the road and you went to the park, and there are buildings and all of that, right? Your feet were
Oh,
on
the
the ground.
acorns. Do you remember those weird
Yeah.
looking acorn things? And I took a picture and I sent it to you, and I mean, it was
Yeah,
just
they were on the
yeah.
table.
Yeah,
What
they were on the table.
people
Somebody
Mhm.
put them up on the table, but and I forget what they were. I did find out, but yeah, it
Yeah.
would it was I was noticing, right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, well, and that's even the 4 things that you can feel,
Mhm.
right? You were noticing that physical sensation, not
Mhm.
just your feet on the ground, but you were picking it up and you were touching it, right?
Mhm.
Again, we talk about the temperature all the time, right?
Mhm.
That's something that you can feel. It is something tangible that your body is aware of. It is pulling that energy into that thought aspect, right? And then, one of the other things is 3 things that you can hear. Maybe
Mhm.
it's the birds, maybe it's the cars, maybe it's, um, the the humming in the next room, or, whatever
The
the
breeze,
case is.
right? The
Yeah.
wind. Yeah.
We end up when we talk about different things a lot, well, we're on the phone as far as, oh, the temperature or, the wind, because a lot of times you're commuting to work and the window is down, so you're getting
Mhm.
sunlight in, and I'm like, no, I can't hear the wind over the phone, but you're like, the wind's blowing, or
Mhm.
whatever. And then 2 things that you can smell, and this is where the parks come in really nice, right? It's the fresh air or nature. Maybe you're walking, you were walking that one day, that we talked to Terry Bradshaw, right? You
Oh
were
yeah.
walking and we had the coffee shop,
Mhm.
right? So essential oils, there's several things that you can end up and smell. Like, I have my diffusers going, so I'm constantly, you know, inhaling my essential oils. And but then one thing that you can end up a taste. Maybe that's your water, maybe that's your breakfast if you're eating breakfast with sunrise, whatever that is, right? Um, that is where, it kind of comes in and brings that whole loop. And that's where, hormone wise, this is going to end up and lower the cortisol. It's activating that vagus nerve because we're activating that body. The chemicals and the little messengers of the body, they are all connected. So
Mhm.
just like this vagus nerve ends up and has, the vagus nerve running through the body, and it has nerves that branch out, our body ends up and is all connected. So we are increasing that tone of the body.
Mhm.
And then a lot of people will talk about HRV. Anyone that has, a Fitbit or an Oura Ring or a Whoop band, or, anything about that, it always talks about their HRV. This will improve it. If
Mhm.
you work on, the forest bathing or the sensory aspect of, calming the parasympathetic, it's going to increase that HRV.
Absolutely. Well, and I'll tell you, you see me wearing these blue blockers, right?
Hmm.
I have a set of them at work. I wear them all day. All day.
Yep.
I'm under fluorescent lighting. I'm on a computer. You know, until I walk outside. And when I walk outside, they come off, right? But they're still in my hand when I'm outside. If I go get the mail or I'm at lunch, um, because as soon as I walk back in, the glasses go back on. This is a non negotiable for work for me. And here I am sitting at night with them on as well because I've done without. I've gotten lazy and done without, and my sleep suffers.
Yep.
Excuse me.
It does, but our bodies have the resiliency again to end up, and I don't care whether you're 18 or whether you're 80. Our body has the ability, if we just end up and create a calm aspect,
Hmm.
we can fix our thoughts, we can fix our nervous system, and we can create that safe space.
So let's let's give you a few steps and plans of attack that you can do between now and the first of the year. Choose your detox window, like Becky said. 30 minutes after you wake up, don't touch your phone, right? You said an hour before bed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's some good starting points, right? So that's your weekly tech Sabbath, right? We have Sundays the Sabbaths. This will be your tech Sabbath, right? Or text uh, Sabbath times. Um,
Yeah.
pair that pair that time with your nature walk, right? Not necessarily the forest bathing, although it sounds fancy. You can tell your friends that you're forest bathing. You're really just outside, at the park, sitting in your backyard, breathing, looking at nature, touching nature without your phone.
Mm-hmm.
Win-win. And then anchor that. Anchor it with some gratitude journaling and mindful tea. Have a cup of tea, right? We have a gratitude journal, affirmations journal, that Becky and I created because a lot of people just didn't know how to get started on that. Um, and then build a community. We have a community. We have the BNC community. Um, we have some big things in the works coming in the BNC community. And so there's a couple steps that you can start taking. It's going to help you, especially in this busy time of year, um, and kind of help in that end of year stress and help bring that down some for you. Um,
Yep. It
anything in
doesn't. It.
closing? Yeah.
As I say, it doesn't take much. Again, just these small steps
Yeah.
create the big win. It doesn't have to end up and be a lot. Just taking some of these small, you know, you don't need a vacation. You just
Right.
need to turn down the noise. Turn towards the trees, turn towards nature, turn towards, the restriction, right, of
Mhm.
the digital. And it's, returning your body back to that safety.
Right. And if you want some accountability, Becky and I are here. You can tag us on social media. I'm Step by Healing Steps. She is I am Becky Niles. Tag us. Tag us and go, hey, I just did I did some forest bathing, Coach Sherry. And it was really, I walked around the block,
Yeah.
in the city. It doesn't matter. But you can tag us. We will be your accountability for that. Tag us. Let us know how you are doing with all that extra noise and how you're kind of quieting it down. We'd love to hear about it.
Or even better yet, come join us in the BNC community. You
Yes.
can use the code free. Jump in there, join us. We end up when we have challenges. We have, accountability meetings. They were talking today. We had a member that was, essentially doing the forest bathing, right? They were out taking pictures of the birds and all
Yes.
sorts of things. So, you never know what the conversation is going to be. Definitely jump in and join us. We would love to have you, and we will see you
Oh,
all.
wait.
Yes,
We got some announcements coming up here, right? We got
we do.
big things happening in the BNC community, and we are so excited. We are like we're going to tease this week.
We do. There are some changes coming, and full disclosure, if you want to know the changes, jump in now,
Mhm.
and join us in the community. You will get the inside scoop, but otherwise, stay tuned because they will be coming down the pipeline.
Absolutely. All right. Well, guess what? We will be here next Monday night, 7 p.m. Central. You can find us on the usual places wherever you're watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, comment. We are not sponsored by anybody, and we do appreciate. We do. We read every single comment, good, bad, ugly, different. Hey, try my product. I mean, we've seen those. It's like, what is that? Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. But we read them. So we would love to hear from you. And again, reach out to us on social media. We'll be your accountability partner, and we will see you next week.
Have a wonderful week, and